Our story, like our entire marriage and all our parenting life, kind of started with a loss. We got pregnant right away, and then we had a miscarriage right away, and we were really young. And I don't even think about it all that often anymore, other than that's just kind of how our whole childbearing years, I guess, kind of started. And then we just went on to have these 2 really healthy, normal pregnancies. We didn't think a lot about it. And then I had another early miscarriage.
And we'd started to tell some people. I remember because we were I don't know how long, but we'd started to tell people because we were excited, and it had just been the norm, I think, after Aidan and Caleb. And
actually, I'm so sorry. Let's cut. Is it possible to take her out? Because you're saying really good things, and I don't want to miss it. Is it possible for her to wait outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom.
Just.
I'm so sorry. We love you. It's not a reflection on you.
Yeah. That was the plan.
I'm so sorry.
No.
You were saying such good things, and I'm like, I don't want to miss this. All right. If you can start over.
We're going to start over.
With just that you were talking about that we had told people with our second miscarriage.
So we started telling people, and so to have to go back and tell them that we miscarried was hard.
Yeah, with our first miscarriage, a lot of people had never even known we were pregnant, so it was different.
Yeah.
But then right after our second miscarriage, I got pregnant really, really fast, and this is kind of like.
It was.
We still laugh about it.
I found her asleep in the bathtub.
I was sure that I was, and he insisted I was pregnant.
And she insisted she wasn't, and I was right.
And then we found out we were having a girl, and we had a really normal pregnancy up until 30 weeks, and then I just woke up one day, and I didn't feel her moving very much, and we went into the hospital, and we found out she had passed, and we didn't really have a reason. We didn't really know why or have any sort of reason of what we knew. And thinking about when she died, I remember everything, the week leading up to when she died. I remember day by day what I was doing every single day. And then she was born, and we left the hospital, and I don't remember anything for weeks. I don't know what I was doing for those times. I was just there.
And it was. I remember it was Aidan, our oldest boy's birthday, the day after we found out she'd passed. And we were supposed to have a bunch of people, or a couple days, over for a birthday party, and I remember calling people because we were supposed to travel and changing plans, and it was, it hit home to have to tell people what had happened.
Yeah, and we had a lot of support from Tim's work, kind of an unexpected place. A lot of Tim's coworkers they fed us for 6 weeks. I don't think we fed ourselves at all.
I tried to go to work on the first workshop. I was teaching at a brand new school, and I tried to go to work, and my principal sent me home. He said, "Tim, you've got a family to deal with right now. Go home."
Yeah. So we kind of, I don't know. That experience was just that was so shocking and just came out of nowhere, and we didn't know what to expect. And for the most part, our family was fairly supportive, although there were always people that kind of were really uncomfortable with us or didn't know what to say to us or how to interact. And so we started trying to think about how to incorporate Kenna into our lives, and we did a lot of projects, and we donated a lending library to the hospital for her first birthday, and we always would include her footprints or a little symbol of her somewhere on our Christmas cards and incorporate her that way. Yeah. Even as our family continued to grow.
Well, and I think we'd always been unsure of, the conventions of, do you find out the gender of your child? Do you name your child before they're born? And after Kenna, it was never a question. It was, we will find out if we're having a boy or a girl, and we will give them a name, because it allowed a connection. If this had just been baby, but she'd been Kenna for months, already, and so we knew her, in a way we wouldn't have otherwise.
So after Kenna died, we know our family continued to grow, and we had 3 very normal, uneventful, nothing interesting pregnancies really. And then in 2014, I found out I was expecting on Valentine's Day, and we were really excited because we'd had these 3 great pregnancies in a row. We were sure we had conquered all of those problems, whatever they were. and then I miscarried on April Fool's Day. So it was kind of like this strange length pregnancy. I always remember the dates just because what they were, Valentine's Day to April Fool's Day.
And it was late. It was 11 weeks.
Yeah,
I
it was
think.
11 weeks.
And I mean, by 8 weeks, we'd always been safe and hadn't had anything to worry about after Kenna.
Yeah. So, but, so, we tried again, and everything was normal and everything was going along well. Very similar to my pregnancy with Kenna, where we just didn't have any kind of issues or whatever. And then I woke up at 18 weeks, just in the middle of the night, bleeding like crazy. And I remember sitting on the bed telling Tim I didn't want to go to the hospital because I knew what they were going to tell me and I didn't want to go. And, eventually we were like, yeah, we have to go. We can't stay here.
But it was scary, the idea of confirming.
Yeah.
We're sure we knew.
Yeah, we were sure we knew. But then we got there and we were
was,
wrong.
it didn't matter that it turns out that there was no fluid, that they decided that her water had broke, but it didn't matter because she was still alive.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it was a she at that point, but we hadn't had that ultrasound yet, but it didn't really matter what else was going on because our baby was still living.
Yeah.
And we thought it was over already.
And it was interesting because a lot of the healthcare providers, because I was 18 weeks and they all were like, they saw nothing but doom and gloom and they saw nothing but bad circumstances and impossibilities. But there was just this overwhelming relief that she was still living, that we didn't know what else to do other than just keep hoping that continued. And we kind of went through I was in the hospital for a couple days, and then I went home, and then they sent us to Mayo because they really couldn't figure out what was wrong. So we went to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, and we didn't have a real great experience with Mayo at all. They didn't want to give us a diagnosis, but they gave us about 12, and all of them were very doom and gloom and very worst case scenario. Maybe she'll live another week. Maybe she'll live another 2 weeks. There was a thing with the ultrasounds.
We had three ultrasounds that day, and we didn't get a picture from a single one. No one had, after sitting through, they were long.
Hours of appointments
and long ultrasounds because without the fluid they couldn't see very well, and no one thought that we might want a picture in all of this until we asked, and then someone brought in the little cheap office machine and we got one, but no one thought that might be something we might like.
Yeah. So Sienna, we named our daughter Sienna. We eventually found out that she was a girl, and we named her Sienna, and she lived for 20 whole weeks. We delivered her at 38 weeks, and she lived for an hour and 45 minutes, and we never had an autopsy or anything like that, but she hadn't had any amniotic fluid at any point, so we kind of knew going into it that the chances of her surviving were pretty small, but we wanted to do whatever we could to get that chance for her. And so she lived for an hour and 45 minutes, and she got to be baptized and confirmed, and she met all of her siblings, and she met her grandparents and friends and families. We kind of had this list. We really hope she lives, but if she doesn't, this is what we would have done different from last time. We wanted more pictures. We wanted the kids to meet her. We wanted to do more memory making, and
we wanted this not to be just a vacuum of us
in
the hospital that it was with Kenna.
We stayed with her a lot longer. She stayed with us for almost 2 whole days. And Mayo, even though they were not particularly good during my pregnancy, they were fantastic after she was born, really, with memory making and with all sorts of other.
And even after she was born, before we knew whether she was going to make it or not, right after she was born, they whisked her away, and I've never seen, to this day, a group of, there's probably 25 doctors and nurses and medical personnel in the room doing everything they could do, and there was nothing they could do, but that didn't stop them from trying.
Yeah, and Tim got to be with her for like 45 minutes, and they included him in everything. They took pictures when he didn't have the camera. We have, even from that short time that she was there, we have just tons of pictures because the medical staff that weren't being used picked up our camera and started taking pictures, and I actually really cherish some of those pictures the most because they just, even though she's connected to machines and she has these tubes, but you can just she was alive. It's like proof that she was really alive, that those pictures of her with the NICU team and when they were working on her.
And it was only an hour, 45, I don't know, I kind of lost track of time, but I know when she passed and when we went out, but through this whole thing, I was powerless to do anything for my daughter. And it felt like one thing I could do for her.
For that little bit of time, to just be able to make decisions and do things for her. And so, you know, since she died, we've tried to continue doing things. We took a family trip to a lot of the places that helped us, to the place that donated her casket, and to the Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Cross, who had been really supportive of us. And we went to the Prenatal Partners for Life banquet because they had also been really supportive of us after we kind of had that diagnosis that she wouldn't be okay. So we kind of have done a lot with those sorts of things. And then we took, you know, we just try to include them. I write about a lot on my blog, and people come up to me and tell me stories. So I know people want to talk about it, and that people tell me stories. One woman told me a story of her twins that she had miscarried at 4 months, and she'd never even told anyone about it. She never told anyone she was pregnant. She never told anyone she was having twins, and she miscarried, and she went through it all alone. And so I try to talk about it on my blog at least once a week. I'm like still reminding people. And if I'm like feeling like all mopey and gloomy about it, I can just post a picture of Sienna and get like all these comments and likes, and people are so excited to see her. And so it's like this support and affirming for me to be able to do that.
And I had that from work. I worked for a university, and my department was hands down fantastic. I mean, I teach, and this all happened in September. So I mean, we're barely starting the school year, and my department rallied around. I mean, they made meals, they covered when I was at appointments, and so if I had to be missing from class or missing from meetings, they covered for me and made sure that those things were happening. And many of them, even now, even so much time later, still are, you know, little comments to know that people remember that she's still with us here.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for me now is knowing that the reality of my family, having had so many losses, my reality of my family doesn't really match up with what other people see as my family. You know, they see us and they see we have these 5 beautiful children, and I know that there's 5 more that aren't here. So, you know, I think that's probably the hardest thing for me.
And I think the hardest thing I have is it's, you know, as a husband and a father, I take it as my duty to take care of my family, and I can't protect them from this. You know, I can't. The girls that died and the miscarriages, I can't fix that, and I can't protect the pain that their siblings feel. I can't take that away. Although I wouldn't, because it's a part of them now. But it's still hard to see them go through it.
Yeah. So.
I was named after Kenna. My middle name is almost the same as Kenna's middle name. When a mom went to the doctors in the middle of the night, we went to Pokin's and had pancakes at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Sienna was a very big influence on me, and I got to hold her while she was still alive. And I don't really have words for it, but it was really, I don't know, very interesting.
Lucy, can you tell me about your sisters? Who's your sisters?
Kylee and Logan and Caleb.
Okay. And do you have any other sisters?
Aidan.
As a brother. Do you remember? You have a sister who died?
Yeah.
Do you remember her name?
Kenna.
Kenna. Do you have another sister who died?
Sienna.
Sienna. And do you love your sisters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to hold Sienna?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I got to hold Sienna and Kenna by holding her like a baby.
Yeah. Like a baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.